Hey everyone, it's Marianne from the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. I wanted to do a little video um, to respond to some questions we got from the retired firefighters. It seems as if the UFA and UFOA had been inviting their retirees to AETNA seminars, and they were, I guess, being lured by a sales pitch. And some of the misinformation that was being given by the people conducting the meeting. So they gave me a couple of points that they want us to show, because the union is saying that the information out there is not correct, and we want to absolutely show you that it is. So I'm going to prove it to you, not by just saying it to you, but like how we always do it, is by showing you. So one of the things that came up is that the contract is not 2 years. And we kept saying, well, the contract is not 2 years, but it can be reevaluated or altered every 2 years. It is an almost 6-year contract. It's like, I don't know, like 5 years and 6 months or 5 years and 4 months. So I want to pull up the contract. It's the evidence of coverage document. And I want to share with you these specific pages. So this is 12.12, section 12 of the EOC. And this is on prior authorization. So it says the contractor has established a program for Medicare Advantage plan that requires prior authorization for certain limited procedures based on the applicable terms of the Medicare Advantage plan, including but not limited to medical necessity prior authorization. The contractor may directly perform such prior authorization or may delegate such prior authorization to a third-party vendor that it contracts with. Prior authorization vendor consistent with the mandates. Non-contracted providers are not required to seek prior authorization for services from the contractor. However, contractor reserves the right to retrospectively review claims submitted by non-contracted providers and may deny coverage if the services are not medically necessary or not covered under the MA plan. Now, this is where we keep saying to you that when you join a Medicare Advantage plan, you are no longer allowing your doctor to make the decisions for you. You are allowing the insurance company to take over that role. They determine what is medically necessary, not your physician. And this is why it's a problem. Now, while they like to advertise the fact that you can see any doctor that's in or out of network, because this is a PPO, and that they don't require doctors that are out of network to, well, that'll be in the next sentence. I'll get to that in a second. But in this sentence, that the contractor reserves the right to retrospectively review claims submitted by non-contracted providers and may deny coverage if they determine that the procedure or test or whatever service was not medically necessary in their opinion. And so what does that mean? You're on the hook. And this is something you don't have to worry about in traditional Medicare, ever. Okay? If the doctor accepts Medicare, he accepts Medicare. Doesn't matter. So let's go on. 12.1, prior authorization waiver. Consistent with mandates, the contractor will agree that for the initial term of this contract, prior authorization will not be required with respect to the procedures listed in attachment H. Now, they were really kind of stupid and ugly in this, and shame on the unions. And I'm going to say that again, shame on the unions, because you voted on this agreement without ever seeing the contract. Attachment H is a list of all of those prior authorizations, but they are not by words. They are not by procedure or test. They are by ICD number. And so it requires you to look up each and every one of them. And you thought it would be simple by just saying, oh, look, it's only on less than one page. But if you actually knew what they entailed, maybe you would have looked twice. So the list of procedures is set forth in attachment H will be maintained and updated by the contractor every 2 years, subject to review and consent of the city and the MLC. You see, this is where you're putting your health, your life in the hands of the city and the MLC. Why would you do that? Right now, your life, your health care is in the hands of your doctor. Are you okay with relinquishing that right to an insurance company, the city, and the MLC? You know, two of those three entities stripped your healthcare benefits and choices away to benefit themselves. And then the insurance company, who's totally okay with forcing you into their product, because if they really were so sure that it was a good plan, they would have let you voluntarily opt into it, not be forced into it. But I digress. So every 2 years, I'm gonna say the foregoing does not preclude the contractor from continuing to require providers to notify the contractor when a member obtains these procedures for clinical purposes, including but not limited to monitoring potential member safety concerns and situations of overutilization services by specific providers when compared to the contractor's book of business. 2 years. Listen up, guys. See this? Hold on, let me circle it. 2 years after the effective date and every 2 years thereafter, the parties will mutually evaluate the impact of the waiver of prior authorization described herein and discuss in good faith whether changes are appropriate to this section 12.1, including modification of the list in attachment H and use of the prior authorization vendor, including the particular current designated third-party vendor. So while this may be an almost 6-year contract, it can change every 2 years. And if the unions need to come up with more value so they can get their next contract, guess who they're selling off, guys? Because they've sold you off once. They've sold you off twice. They have attempted to sell you off 3 times. And guess what? They'll do it again. Especially if Michael Mulgrew, Henry Garrido, and Harry Nespoli are still in office, or any of the greedy bastages that are coming up behind them that don't understand that unions should never sell out retired labor. I hate being right, guys. 12.2, additional waiver for prior authorization. For an additional $15 per member per month, the contractor will waive prior authorization for additional services and items except as set forth below. So that means everything that you see underneath this list in 12.2, they're not going to include. Every 2 years, did you catch that? Every 2 years, the parties will mutually review waiver of prior authorizations described in this section 12.2 and determine in good faith whether changes are appropriate to this section 12.2. Only the following services and items will be subject to prior authorization under the Medicare Advantage plan. And if you think about these, as you get older, these are some of the things that you really need. Acute hospital inpatient, long-term acute care, acute physical rehab, skilled nursing, and home care services. These are your big ticket items when you are infirm and need to be taken care of. And of course, now they're going to put prior authorization on them. So what does that mean? Delays and denials of care. So the other thing before I move on to the third point that you wanted me to clear up was retrospective reviews. The contractor agrees on a quarterly basis to conduct selective retrospective reviews of the following types of cases. And this is where cases were denied. If they were denied and they didn't appeal, they can look back and say, oh, sorry, we did this. And, now we said we were going to pay for this, but we changed our mind. It really wasn't, medically necessary. So now I want to go to the next part. So we've already addressed the 2-year issue. Clearly, the UFA and UFOA and any other union that's saying it's a 6-year contract and that it can't be changed, they're bullshitting you. It can be changed or modified every 2 years as agreed upon by the city and the MLC. And who does that directly affect? You. Okay. The last one has to do with out-of-network providers. So if a member's provider does not participate in the AETNA Medicare Advantage network, the AETNA Medicare network, out-of-network provider, but the provider is willing to accept the Medicare Advantage PPO ESA plan and is eligible to participate in Medicare, the member can receive medical services under the plan of covered services from the out-of-network provider. Doesn't that sound just great? And in the seminars, we understand that they are making that sound like, oh, don't worry, if the doctor accepts Medicare, they'll take our plan. No, this is a Medicare Advantage plan still. They do not have to accept it. They do not have to treat you. They do not have to stay in the plan if they are already in it. It is an MA plan. Hard stop. And so they're selling you something that's not true. I do want to tell you that that they are not being genuine when they tell you that this is as easy as they're trying to sell it to be. So the doctor doesn't have to see you when he's out of network, unless it is for an emergency. So the CMS group enrollment waiver, let's explain this. CMS has established, and CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, established a waiver of network service requirements, waiver, for some employer union groups. That's us. Under this waiver, the employer or union may enroll their retirees into an MA or HMO PPO or a PPO plan, even if they reside in an area that does not have access to network providers. This is what they're saying. We know we don't got doctors in your area, but we're going to sign you up anyway. We refer to these non-network service areas as extended service areas, ESA. I don't know why they call it extended service area, because some people think ESA meant that it was an extended area that would be covered. No, this is literally a coverage desert, okay? In order to be eligible for this waiver, at least 51% of your retirees and dependents must live in an area that provides adequate access to network providers. AETNA will apply the CMS network requirements when determining if a county or service area meets the adequate requirements. Members enrolled in the MA, PPO, ESA plan may not have access to an AETNA network of providers that meets the CMS network adequacy requirement. Providers who are not contracted with AETNA are not required to accept the AETNA, MA, PPO, ESA plan, except when a member requires emergency or urgently needed care. This now explains these next couple of bullet points on what you, the retiree, are supposed to do when you're on this plan and your doctor won't accept it. And then if you note the very last point that says, AETNA will work with members who use this program to transition their care to an in-network physician as needed. And guess what, guys? You just lost your doctor. So I've covered those 3 points for you guys today. And see, even she's in shock. She's like, what? I lost my doctor. This is concerning that our unions would be okay to take us off federal traditional Medicare, original Medicare, that is taken by just about every doctor in the United States. 96% of the doctors accept Medicare. The 4% that don't are typically pediatricians and psychiatrists. And with this plan, you can go anywhere you want to, anywhere in America. If the doctor accepts Medicare, they accept traditional Medicare. AETNA Medicare Advantage is not that way. In this plan, AETNA Medicare Advantage, they've already admitted only 88% of the doctors you are currently seeing, meaning the 183,000 of us are seeing, only 88% of our doctors are in their network. That doesn't guarantee that they'll be in the network tomorrow. And then they said that maybe I think it was 8 or 9% more would accept the plan for what were known to accept the Medicare Advantage plan. And all that mean was known to accept, or known to accept payment, I think they said. I forget the definition they used, but they defined it in the seminar as that means that they've accepted payment from AETNA at least once in the last 12 months. That doesn't mean that they're going to accept it again or continue to accept it. You have so much more of a burden in this plan and a risk in this plan than you do in traditional Medicare. So those are my 3 points for today. I'm sorry, guys, that the UFOA, UFA are lying to you. Even corrections, COBA is saying the same BS. It is misleading. It is a sales pitch. It's like selling ice to an Eskimo. They need to say this. And think about something. If this product was so darn wonderful, Why would they have to force you into it? Why would you have to be auto-enrolled into this plan when if it was so great, you would want to be in it and voluntarily enroll? You know why? Because they are looking to make money and they want to capture the entire book of business of retirees. And the union leader said, okay, go ahead, have all my seniors because it's going to give me a raise next year. Probably already did. I mean, they sold us off how many times already? This is the ugly part of this because this is business and they're not taking in the lives of the people that they're affecting. They're not even getting into the part of all the other problems that we've addressed with other issues of this plan with CCRCs and the drug plan. The drug plan is even more expensive than the plan that we're on today. Not only is the premium more expensive, but so is the cost of drugs. So they're not looking out for anybody but themselves. I'm going to call this the end of this version. I'm sure you're going to ping me back with a few more tips. Please subscribe to our videos, nycretirees.org. Our website is www.nycretirees.org. You can make a donation to our organization. We are moving towards litigation very soon, and sign up for our newsletter and subscribe to these videos so that you'll know, hit the bell, hit the button, our logo, so that you'll be aware of any time we do post a new video. Thank you everyone for listening and have a great night.